Hello, my fellow Hulk fans. It's Jerry Rasco, and I am with you here today so that we can review and talk about Tales to Astonish number 69, the ongoing story of the Incredible Hulk. So thank you to everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. Your views have been amazing. Your feedback has been just incredible. Thank you all so much for being part of the channel and following along with this content. Of course, if you're new to the channel, you just found this video, please think about going back and checking out the playlists that we have here. So the goal is I have been going through several old Marvel comics, starting with Amazing Spider-Man and going all the way back to Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance, doing X-Men, so X-Men #1, and then also the Incredible Hulk, starting with Incredible Hulk #1. And each of these series is reviewing the artwork. Of course, we talk about the story, but the primary focus is to look at the art and talk about how these incredible classic artists brought these stories to life and what can we learn from them. That all said, if you subscribe to the channel, you will be automatically entered into a drawing to win free artwork when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So with every new subscriber that adds, we get that much closer to you winning free artwork. So we've got this Amazing Hulk piece here celebrating this series. We also have, as I mentioned, the X-Men in their original school uniforms, celebrating X-Men #1 in that series. And then, of course, the OG, the Spider-Man, our first series, talking about the Amazing Spider-Man. There is more to come. I have 2 other pieces of artwork ready to go for 2 other series that we're going to be doing, and 1 more on the table. So if you like this content of reviewing these old comics and going through it with me, there's more to come. So click that subscribe button. It's 100% free. No purchase necessary. Even the shipping on the art will be free. So consider it and become a subscriber and part of the channel. That all said, we've got a very interesting issue of Tales to Astonish to look at. So let's jump over and take a look. So here is Tales to Astonish number 69. And yeah, the cover, it's interesting. This is, I think, one of the first times where we've really seen the Hulk dominating the page. And I think the big reason for that is, we'll obviously see it in the next issue, but spoiler ahead, Giant Man and the Wasp moving forward are not going to be part of this book. Their section is going to be replaced with another character. I'll leave that to next week, so it can be a big surprise. But yeah, so now they're going away, and actually those 2 characters are going to become, I think, more prominent going back to the Avengers line, and the Hulk, and there's another character that's going to be sharing this book. So we've got the Hulk kind of headlining the cover. This is a Jack Kirby cover. My information tells me that this is Frank Giacoia, sorry. I always say Cola. Frank Giacoia inking this cover. Though we have a different inker on the inside. It's a pretty good cover, right? We've got the leader, we've got the Hulk in despair, and then we've got these soldiers also shooting at the Hulk at the same time, so there's a lot going on there. The one thing I don't like is this border. So there's this panel border, like you would have right on the inside of the book. It's fine to separate out the Giant Man image, but the soldiers are supposed to be part of this, what's going on here. The soldiers are shooting at the Hulk. This is part of the story. And so I don't understand what the panel border is. They're obviously overlapping it, so it's not really there, but I don't understand what it is either. So that piece confused me a little bit. Not sure if maybe it was one of those things like, I don't know, maybe it was drawn to be 3 different images, and then somebody, an editor or somebody was like, hey, can we get the military in there, and instead of redoing the whole thing, just kind of pasted it on top maybe? I don't know. It's a little odd, but I don't have any context to it. But overall, the image is good. I will point out this. There is one small issue, and I can't tell. I don't think it's a coloring issue. The Hulk only has 4 fingers on this hand. I think it's just a drawing error, to be honest, because there's no shape here that I would say, oh, that's colored incorrectly. That's really his finger. This is a shadow. I mean, maybe this shape, like right here. could be his pinky finger sticking out sideways, maybe, but that's kind of a stretch. So overall, kind of just looks like the Hulk's missing a finger. Well, like I said, otherwise good, very consistent with kind of the Kirby depiction of the Hulk that we've seen here, and gets us into mode for, hey, everybody is after the Hulk now. This guy's literally got his back up against the wall and danger on all sides. So let's see what happens. So as I mentioned, this is the Giant Man and Wasp series. I always talk about it at this point of the book. This is a scanned PDF copy of the book from 2007. So back then, Marvel got their hands on actual physical copies of all these books and put them on a flatbed scanner, scanned them to PDF files, and sold them on DVD so that folks like me could enjoy them on our computers at home. So that's why you see old ads, some of the old coloring, paper, stuff like that. But this is 100% how it would have looked at the time. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the series, is being able to look at these in their original format. Art team, or creative team, I should say, we still have Stan Lee writing, we have Jack Kirby drawing, and then we have inking by Mike Esposito. So again, like I mentioned, the cover is different. That's Frank Giacoia and Mike Esposito inside. Again, if you're new, Mickey DeMeo is just a pseudonym used by Mike Esposito because he was working kind of freelance for multiple companies at the same time, and that wasn't always looked on favorably. So you find a lot of artists, if they wanted to work both places, would kind of skirt around that by using a pseudonym in the credits. I don't think it probably fooled anybody, but that's what they had to do at the time. So great splash page. We're starting off right where the story ended before, which is fantastic. The Hulk is unconscious at the mercy of the leader and his humanoids. This is an awesome, awesome splash page. The Hulk is massive and thick, the way that I want to see the Hulk drawn, monstrous, powerful, even in an unconscious state. You can see the tendons in the neck and the muscles. Great tilt of the head. This is surprisingly harder than you would think. Of course, you can just turn the paper over and draw them right side up to make sure you're getting all the angles and everything right, but it's surprising how things change when you draw a face actually upside down. Gravity is different. The way the muscles relax on the face, some of the lines and things are going to be a little different. But overall, this is terrific. Great big forehead and brows. Very monstrous looking face is what I'm looking for. And I even really like the way that the hair in this splash page is inked. It's very nice. You've got an overall shape, which is terrific. And then you've got certain, strands where shadow would be played out. On some areas and not others. It works perfectly for me. The shading, or the shading under the knuckles here, I think is excellent. This little cast shadow of the leader's arm across his body is a nice touch. A lot of people would probably forget that. So terrific, terrific splash page. I really, really like that a lot. And we keep going. We cut over right to the next page, and we've got another great shot here. So we've got the Hulk, good profile shot. I've said in the past, profile images of your figures are not always the most powerful because they're, by definition, very flat. You can't necessarily show the three-dimensionality of an ear and how it's coming towards us compared to the rest of the face because there's no frame of reference. It's not, yes, it's overlapping the hair, so it's a little bit closer. But other than that, the tricks that you would use to show three-dimensionality in a two-dimensional space aren't available in a profile shot. Things aren't overlapping. Things aren't moving back in perspective. So, but this is an excellent profile shot. That all said, it is a powerful tool to use as an artist when you have it. But you have to use it in the right position, and this is exactly one. So great features on the Hulk. Again, great musculature, and as well, the leader is awesome. So far, we've seen a lot of close-ups of the leader. We've seen him kind of maybe in long shots, small panels. I like this. We've got a much more dialed in sort of design in terms of the shape of the head, this big widow's peak of the hair, the heavy eyebrow lids, and the pencil mustache, which gives him just an extra creepy look. He's got this terrific smirk, and the hand wringing is a nice bit of business. Anytime your characters can, the phrase I'll use is do business. What that means is, let's say you have a character who is supposed to be like me, sitting at a desk and writing. Now, you can have your character just sitting there. Or you could have them chewing on a pen, or scratching their head, or looking up in the sky. Any little extra business just helps to flesh out the visual story that you're trying to tell. And that little hand wringing of "Mwah" is perfect for what's going on here with the leader, and in he's happy. All of his machinations are coming to fruition. He's got the Absorbatron, this nuclear safety device, let's call it that way. It's supposed to absorb nuclear radiation from a nuclear bomb strike. That's what's the military's been trying to test with Banner for about 4 issues now, I think. Leader has finally captured it, as well as the Hulk that he wants to study. So there we go. The military is there. They realize something's going on. They've finally seen all of these little pink people walking around on this island, but the leader is one step ahead of them. He's got as much as he created them, he's got a special compound he sprays them with, which dissolves them into nothingness. And then he has a ship that he uses to transport the Absorbatron and the Hulk back to his base. Now, I thought this was a little silly. It's called a magnetic attractor beam. I don't know how the Hulk is magnetic. He's not ferrous, but I mean, that's fine. We'll stretch the limits of science in this case, because later I'm going to really nitpick it. But more importantly, the figure of the Hulk here is very good. Again, seeing that massive build, the big barrel chest, smart. He's unconscious, leaning back. His head is tilted back. You just show the base of his neck and chin. Perfect. The legs are good. The shading is nice. Everything here tells me this is a limp figure floating in space. It works for me. The hand pose, everything is good there. I did have a question, which again kind of comes up story-wise later, and that is why, if Banner has been gassed with some sort of sleeping gas, or the Hulk, why hasn't he turned back into Banner? We've already established that at this point in time, when he gets excited, he turns into the Hulk. When he calms down, he turns into Banner. So theoretically, he should be turned back to Banner right now. So that's a little bit of a story flaw or logic flaw, I guess, that kind of bugs me a little bit. And now I just want to very quickly focus on a couple pieces down here in this 4th panel. And what I said here is, in my mind, the inking is a little sloppy. And here's what I mean. It's minor stuff, but you can see, like, they're in a corridor in the leader's base. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is still the base where the Absorbatron was stolen from. My apologies. So there's a corridor, and there's this sort of track on the floor, if you will. And this is, I suppose, supposed to be some sort of a grate. Again, we're just using lines to try to establish some sort of fake technology background, if you will, right? But this line just goes right through the grate. Again, sloppy. Why are you putting this over the top? Why wouldn't you just move it to the side a little bit, or to the center a little bit? Then you've got these lines that break the borders, the panel borders. So you got a couple there. There's a couple ticks up here where whoever's inking to the border just kind of went over the top and went too far. It's easy to clean up. It's a little bit of whiteout. It's not hard to do. But again, just a little sloppy. Some of the soldiers, they're fine. But again, it's a very small panel, but it's kind of feels dashed out a little bit. So compared to some of the earlier inking work there that we saw, this one feels a little bit, as I mentioned on this, my definition is sloppy. So So they find Talbot. Talbot, of course, knocked out in the attack by the humanoids. And of course, everybody blames Banner and the Hulk. Nobody thinks, like, who are the pink people? Like, what are these creatures that swarmed us? How do we know that they didn't grab Banner? Because everybody is, especially Talbot, is completely obsessed that Banner is evil. He is Ahab and Banner is the white whale, right? It doesn't matter what happens. He's always going to be anti-Banner. In panel 3, just we talk about this all the time in all of these series that we do. So if you're following, if you're a subscriber, you're a fan, you know this. You're going to hear my rant and you're going to be chirping along with me. Watch out for your tangents. What is a tangent? Tangent is when the outline of two objects on different planes or different depths of field line up exactly, therefore minimizing the illusion of depth. And so what you've got right here is this thing in the foreground. It's nice. Put in some cool technology to frame it up as a foreground element that creates more depth. That's great. Except this little doohickey on the top very much lines up with the outline of the soldier's leg. Over here kind of lines up with the soldier's arm. This soldier lines up with that soldier very perfectly. Same thing here. So this area in the page all of a sudden becomes very flat, where you've got this depth here of Talbot, the guy behind him, this soldier, the foreground element, the background wall. This part's great. The back part of the panel, extremely flat because you've been not careful with your tangents. So something to watch out for. Overlapping is incredibly powerful. Our brains immediately recognize overlapping as something in front of something else, and so it builds the idea of space. So overlapping is great, but if you do it wrong, it breaks it, right? Our brain goes, it's telling me one thing, but I'm seeing something else, and it can take you right out of the story. Hulk here, though, is very good. Pretty good upshot. So I've talked about this before. Taking the human face and turning it in space. You can turn it, we'll say 180. I'll be generous. I don't know if I can go that far to that far anymore in my neck. But you can go side to side is great. You can go up, from above down. This image of the human face from below up and at various angles is one of the harder ways to draw the human face. Rest of them are pretty solid, pretty easy. This one is the most difficult because of the way all the features compress as the head tilts back. Again, something we've talked about a lot, but this is a very good example. Yes, the Hulk has different facial structure. His nose is much shorter than the kind of average person and the eyebrow heavier, but the way that you can see let's zoom in. You can see that his eyelid kind of lines up with that nostril. And as you come around, here's the other eyelid there. So his nose is not at the same level of his eyelid. His nose doesn't sit at this point in his face. It sits lower. But when you tilt it back, they all start to line up. So very good upshot for a difficult shot. We've seen this in other comics be missed badly. This one is very, very good. So the leader's running his test, trying to figure out what is the Hulk? Who is the Hulk? What is happening with the Hulk? And the Hulk his skin is so dense, so impervious that he can't quite get the readings he wants, so he's got to go get some new components. Now, I wanted to point this out. It is very subtle here. But again, this is something I mentioned in my recent X-Men video. So if you haven't checked that series out, make sure you do. We're just kicking off that series. I think we're only into issue 5 now as of the recording of this video. So you want to get in early so you don't have as many to catch up on. But this is a Jack Kirby shorthand. So what Jack Kirby's doing at this time is developing his own visual shorthand for things. What I mean by that is so he's trying to show some shading on the leader. So under the lip makes sense. If the light's coming down from above, under his bottom lip, it sticks out. Under the chin makes sense. But he includes these lines in the center of the chin, down the center of the nose sometimes. And they don't really match actual lighting. but he's trying to kind of establish, like I said, it's just a visual shorthand. This is a bad example because it's not 100% accurate, but like if you ever take a kid and you say, hey, draw a tree, they'll either draw what we call a lollipop tree. It's a circle of kind of green blobby stuff and a stick down the bottom. That's shorthand for a tree. Draw the sun. It's a yellow circle with lines coming out from it. That's not what the sun looks like. That's shorthand for the sun. What Jack is doing, though, is he's creating his own visual language of this is shorthand for some sort of dramatic lighting. Maybe that's something that's telling us this is an evil character, or he's trying to add more light from the side as opposed to straight down, just to create more dramatic images. It's not just an open, flat green face. Why I bring this up is because it's just one of the things that as we go forward with all of these series, you're going to see artists like Jack Kirby do this. And it's really building the blocks that all of us as comic book creators have followed behind. So even when I'm criticizing something like, hey, I don't like this particular drawing of a hand or the tangents or something like that, it's important to also give credit where credit is due. And Jack Kirby is literally creating a visual language in front of our eyes and developing it and really dialing it in as we go through these books. So important to point those things out. The transformation here isn't bad. I would like to... I'm giving some benefit of the doubt. What I mean is this Hulk face does not look like this Hulk face or this Hulk face or even this Hulk face, right? So I'm assuming there's a panel essentially missing here of the monster Savage Hulk. Now we get to one that's a little less Savage Hulk. Now we've got our in-between of kind of a blockier. Would have been nice to have a little bit of green in here. A little bit blockier Bruce Banner, and then finally Bruce Banner. So, I like the transformation steps, phases, if you will. I think it needs an extra one here of where we're starting and where we're ending. Again, just my 2 cents there. And then, again, dipping back into some story things that kind of don't make a lot of sense to me. And remember, story-wise is mostly going to be Stan. Stan Lee coming up probably with a generic plot, and then his dialogue is what shapes a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about from a story perspective. So we don't want to contribute that to the artist per se. But yeah, here's what happens. So the Hulk has been sedated with sleeping gas. That's the whole deal. And however, all of a sudden now the sleeping gas, instead of causing the Hulk, well, I guess it says he starts to wake up, but it's calmed him down enough to turn into Banner. Well, why isn't Banner still unconscious? Because there's sleeping gas. Well, all of a sudden he's like, oh, the sleeping gas is an antitoxin in my body, so it doesn't affect me. What? To be quite fair, I struggled mightily with chemistry in high school, but I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. So that part of it, I was a little like, what? Again, we'll chalk it up. You have to find a reason, because otherwise, if Banner's just unconscious, the story kind of ends, right? So how does it work? And then he's in this testing lab, medical lab, if you will. And he's like, oh, I'll modify the equipment here and send out a Morse code. So Bruce Banner apparently understands, without doing any kind of testing, biochemistry, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and of course his main focus, nuclear physics. I mean, this would be like, pretend for a minute, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was a theoretical physicist. He built nothing. Albert Einstein wasn't walking into a lab with a screwdriver and a hammer and being like, hey, let me build the bomb. He was the guy that did the math and did the theory and went, here you go, engineers, you build this. that's how that works. So for one guy to be that knowledgeable about everything is a little crazy, but it is what it is. It's comics. Obviously, we have to suspend our disbelief, and pretty much everybody in Marvel Comics who has any kind of scientific knowledge is knowledgeable about everything. The Beast, Iron Man, Hank Pym, Mr. Fantastic. These people are, even Peter Parker, are all uber geniuses that know everything about every aspect of science. So I think that's kind of funny. We cut back here to the military. They want to get that Absorbitron back. They want to get Banner. There's orders to kill him on sight. There's no more fooling around with this. And Talbot is looking extra weaselly here. So I wanted to just point out this face. This is very indicative of what I called Kirby bad guy features. So what that means is the very heavy, low set but thin eyebrows over the eyes, the longer nose, and a wide mouth. These features are used over and over in most of Jack Kirby's bad guys. So you can see, compared to, say, Bruce here, right? Bruce, his eyebrows are a little bit, well, this isn't a great example. Over here maybe is a little better. They're more normal. He's kind of squinching down in this one, but they're not as low set typically over his eyes and just when he's just talking. The mouth is not quite as wide. The facial features aren't as long. This is something like, again, if you go to our X-Men series and you look at a character like Mastermind, the way Jack Kirby drew Magneto, very similar facial structures. So that's, again, just developing this visual language. Without being able to read, you could kind of know, like, I got a feeling this is not a good person. This is not the hero I'm rooting for, right? Rick Jones is back. Rick Jones over here. So Rick Jones has been with the Captain America and the Avengers for quite a while, but he has determined that his debt to Bruce Banner and the Hulk supersedes that, so he has come back to help out. So he's gone to their old secret lair, which still exists, and that's where he picks up the SOS signal that Bruce is sending from the leader's base. So now it's a race against time. Who's going to get to Banner first? Is it going to be the military, or is it going to be Rick Jones? And this is great. This is a nice convoy. So you've got, troops. You've got, looks like some artillery, maybe a missile, more troops. Very nice grouping there. And the way that, again, you talk about creating the illusion of depth on 2 dimensions. How do you do that? You move the things that are further away from us, the reader. You move them up, so the furthest thing away is the highest on the page, and then you increase the size as it comes closer. This is also a very nice move to move us through the panel from this center. We follow this line all the way to here. So nice movement, good use of space there. Overall, very, very good. So Banner, obviously, leader comes back. Hulk's not on the table. He must have woken up. So I'll just pump in double the gas. So somehow this amount of gas put the Hulk, standard, whatever, we'll call it the standard 1 gas amount, put the Hulk to sleep, but transformed him into Banner. So doubling it doesn't put Banner to sleep, somehow turns him back into the Hulk. And I go, wait, what? How does that work? I don't understand. Okay. So leader realizes he's in big trouble. Hulk breaking free. Pretty rough Hulk in 1 and 2. Not great depictions. Again, small panels. For those, again, I've told this before, but if you're not familiar, typically these pages would have been drawn on 11 by 17 inch paper in a 10 by 15 area. So you've got a border around the outside of the paper. So if you split that 10, that means these are probably about 5 by 5, 5 inches by 5 inches square. So 5 inches, 8, so, 5 inches by 5 inches. All right. My whole hand would cover this original art panel if I put it on there, no problem. So you're not dealing with a very big drawing. It's not a postage stamp, but it's also not huge. So you got to get in as much detail as you can in a small area, which they do. So the details aren't great. Like on this face, it looks like he looks like Rocky Balboa after his first fight. Like this eyelid is like, I don't know, weird and swollen or something. I don't know. It's very odd. But the power in panel 2 is very nice. You see what appears to be metal doors. The rivets sell the nature of the material, the bits and pieces, the way it's breaking into geometric shapes as opposed to soft organic shapes. Tell us that this is hard, strong material, probably again metal, and the Hulk just punching through it is very nice. So the power there is really good, even if the details on the figure aren't perfect. So the leader has rushed off to where the Absorbitron is to get his molecule ray. The Hulk has picked up a piece of debris and is about to play, looks like a home run derby with the leader, which to me is hilarious. I think that's great. I like the framing of the Absorbitron in the foreground with the leader and the Hulk behind, looking through the gaps. You could have done this in a bunch of ways, and I was thinking about it. Again, I kind of put on my own artist hat for a minute, and I was like, well, what other angles could you use? You could draw from behind the shoulder of the Hulk and see the leader in front of the Absorbitron, but you lose this power, which is a great figure. The menacing nature of this. I mean, he's literally like baseball swinging, ready to go. Look at the size of that shoulder in comparison to the head. This is an excellent figure. So I don't want to get rid of that. I want to see that menacing Hulk. So, okay, that doesn't work. So could I do it if I do it from closer behind the leader, I miss the Absorbitron. Like, I could do it from top down, but then you're missing any kind of facial expression of the Hulk. And it's just sort of, you're like, top down is looking at little ants, right? And most of the top down image is going to be taken up by the equipment, by this Absorbitron. So overall, I think this is probably about the best possibility. And on top of it, we've also got a slight Dutch angle. If you're not familiar, Dutch angle is when you take what should be a perpendicular item. So the room is built on perpendiculars. The floor would be flat and level. The walls go up at a 90-degree to them. You take that in your image and you go, doop, and you tilt it just a little and you draw everything at a slight angle. And that just increases the drama. And this is a super dramatic moment. So now the leader fires his molecule ray. He claims it is using the power of 1 trillion concentrated molecules, though he barely strikes the Hulk with it. The image itself is good. The lighting is good. I like the dramatic lighting coming from this blast to kind of emphasize the power of it. Great. Here's where I'm going to dip into some crazy science. Okay. This doesn't work. So they're saying the power of 1 trillion concentrated molecules. That's what the leader says. So I'm making some assumptions that though he's shooting some sort of a blast, he's using some sort of an element, compressing the molecules so that there's 1 trillion of them being shot at the Hulk like an energized bullet would be, right? Okay. So on paper, you go, I guess that sounds like a lot, but you start doing the math and you go, how much mass, because power is, I don't know if this is the correct formula. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Power is mass times velocity. And that's how you can figure out the more massive something is and the faster it goes, the more power it has. You can take something massive and shoot it slow. You could take something light and shoot it fast. The best, obviously, is to have the more massive of a projectile you can have, with the greater the speed you can put behind it, the more power it has. It's basic physics. So, how massive is a trillion molecules of something? How much mass does it have? Because, again, I can shoot a feather at you at 1,000 miles an hour. It has little to no mass. It's not going to do anything. But if I take a tungsten sphere and drop it at 5 miles an hour, it's going to have more power behind it because of the mass. So I was like, what's a common kind of thing that maybe he would use? Water, H2O molecule, super easy to get a hold of. Doesn't have to be crazy stuff. Well, a trillion molecules of water is 2.99 times 10 to the negative 11th power grams. What does that mean? It's so small you can't weigh it with a scale. You can only do it with math. That's how little mass a trillion water molecules has. So that means, like, if I have, which I in fact have, this is a cup of water, there's more than a trillion molecules in this cup, concentrated or not. The other one, I said, well, what about something like lead? Lead is 3.44 times 10 to the negative 10th power grams. That is 3 million times lighter than 1 grain of sand. So, and lead, as you know, is a very dense, very heavy metal. That's why we use it in bullets today. So even something like lead, even uranium, tungsten, these things, a trillion molecules of it weigh not less than nothing, but the practical equivalent of nothing. So you can shoot 1 million molecules of nothing at me, and it's nothing. So, yeah. So there we go. We dipped into some science that seems a little crazy and doesn't make a lot of sense. Back to the art. We're heading towards the end of the book here. The Hulk throws this piece of debris at the Absorbitron so that the leader cannot keep it, and it explodes, which is fine. I like the red. I like the negative space, right? So you're drawing in these shadows, letting the red fill the space. I don't like the white in the middle. I don't need it. It's distracting. I'd rather just have a solid red with the shapes. It'd be much easier to define what's happening. Leader gets away. He zips down a little escape tunnel amongst the flames, which is fine. And then he zips off in this rocket sled. I don't need the rocket sled. I could just have the leader escaping. That's fine. He escapes down a tunnel. I don't need this piece. I don't necessarily need the dialogue here. That's fine. This can all come later. Just zip down. Fine. Now, why would I suggest taking away a panel like this? Because, as I've said, there is very limited real estate in these comics. As we go, there's the last page. So we're 1 page away from the last page, and there's important stuff that's happening here at the last page. The Hulk is wounded somehow by the molecule ray, and now the military show up and they start shooting at him, and they shoot him off camera. What I mean by off camera is we don't see it. Now, I don't need, that may be Comics Code Authority. You can't show the bullets hitting the Hulk, but you could show the Hulk fall. You could show the Hulk grabbing at where he's shot to indicate his anguish or pain. Whatever, right? That could happen. And so how do you do that? Because it doesn't happen here. Well, we've gotten rid of a panel. We've added more real estate for ourselves, right? And so just a thought of something that to me is kind of missing, right? So this is nice, by the way. I like this shading on the helmet, the kind of texture of this guy in front, the shadow over his eyes. I think this is a really good image of that soldier there. Rick Jones shows up to try to stop them from shooting Banner. But it's too late. They shot the Hulk. He transformed into Banner. He's wounded, but we don't know where he's been shot. And they say, nope, he's dead. He has no pulse. And that's it. So that's where we end. Now, great cliffhanger. But if he's been shot, maybe again, if I didn't have this panel I don't need here, and maybe throughout the book there might be a couple of other ones like that. Like, this one here, get rid of, make it here. Just have the leader here. Haha, double the amount of sleeping gas is sure to put him to sleep. And instead of putting him to sleep, it's causing me to change. Again, you can free up a couple of panels here and there to give ourselves more space at the end to really show what happened instead of rushing through and they shot him somewhere. Somehow he transformed into Banner. So did he get shot when he was Banner? Did he get shot when he was the Hulk? Was he vulnerable somehow? We've shown he's bulletproof. Who knows? So that's the piece for me that is missing. So I just kind of go, huh? What? I'm not sure. But that's where we end on a cliffhanger, and that's the end of the book. So let's cut back over to the desk, and we'll wrap everything up. So that's Tales to Astonish number 69. Kind of a weird story. Just when the leader has everything, all his goals met, of course, everything falls apart, which is very classic. Your villains can never truly win. The Hulk is in peril, which means Banner is in peril. What is going to happen next in terms of a rating for this issue? Overall, like I said, there's some really good stuff. It starts off extremely strong from an art standpoint. There are a few things throughout that are a little funky, but even when, like that one I mentioned where like the next to last page where the Hulk is punching through the door, the drawing of the Hulk is a little weird, but the power is there. I really like that. So honestly, I'm going to give this I'm balanced between a 6.5 and a 7. Maybe I'll give it a 6.75 out of 10. So I'm getting even more granular. I think there's a few story elements that made me scratch my head and go, as well as a few art things that knocked it down from a 7 to that 6.75. But overall, really strong start with that splash page that carried a lot of weight for me. Of course, as always, I want to hear your comments. I want to know what you think about this issue. Did you have this? Have you ever seen this before? Did you read it before this review? Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you have other things? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. I try to check the comments for every video, so please drop me a line. Let me know what you think. And of course, don't forget, right here, same time, same place, next week with even more Incredible Hulk. Thanks.